I think that's just what entrepreneurship is, right? So not everybody has that instant idea and it's successful. And even if you watch those stories, right?
Hmm.
It's they started something, it failed, and then everyone else is seeing the one that was successful. But then the 100 or 1,000 of different ideas that they had before, no one sees that. No one sees the hard work. No one sees any of that those things that go in, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly right. I mean, I was reading, I can't remember what I was reading now, but they were talking about, like successful billionaires.
mhm,
Most of them have been bankrupt many of times,
yeah,
right? From failed business attempts and stuff like that. Until they finally got the one that was successful for them, right? But they continue to try, they continue to push, they continue to that not everybody's called to entrepreneurship, but if you have that call to entrepreneurship, you
mhm,
can't really get past it. You'll
yeah,
never be happy in a
yeah,
9 to 5 job, right? You'll never be you'll be miserable for the rest of your life.
yeah. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Entrepreneurial Truth. On today's episode, we have Anthony Curnutt, and he's going to speak to us about his journey, what he's been through, what he's doing now, and how what he's doing can help you elevate your game. Anthony, thank you so much for being on our podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is such a pleasure, and I've been looking forward to this podcast and this conversation we're about to have. And so, thank you so much for allowing me to be on here.
Likewise, I'm excited. Okay, so dive in for the audience. I want you to tell us how you started, your whole journey. Walk us through what that looked like.
Yeah, so I live in a little town in southeast Missouri, right? There's 17,000 people here in Papa Bluff, and everybody here will do one of three things. They'll be either they'll work in a factory, they'll be a teacher, they'll be a nurse. That's pretty much what we have here, and that's the mindset that I always grew up with, right? And it's because everybody I knew that's what they did. And I had no idea what I was capable of, right, when it comes to entrepreneurship. And I was, good grief, let's see, 2020, 2020, I was a supervisor at a factory close by, and I just felt the Lord just tugging me to start my own business, and there was so much that just kind of wrapped me, when you're in a position like that, your time is so wrapped up in that, put in 50, 60 hours a week, trying to make sure all your quotas are met, all your all that stuff. Everybody who's ever worked in a position like that understands that. And so the ministry side of it, my family, all these different things were all lacking, and I'm like, Lord, what there's I know there's more. I can feel this tug. And so the Lord's like, start your business, start your own business. I'm like, Lord, I have no idea. I have no idea what I'm doing. Here it is. We're 4 years later, and I'm pretty sure I still don't know what I'm doing. But but yeah, I'm like, Lord, I don't even know. I don't even know the first start. So I begin to talk to my wife. I'm like, hey, I think I want to start my own business. And now my wife is absolutely phenomenal. Right. She's like my biggest cheerleader, and she's like, if you feel the Lord telling you to do so, then, let's pray about it and let's make it happen. And I was like, all right. So, I did. I began to just kind of, what can I do? What am I good at? What am I, those types of things. And I managed restaurants for a long time, and I was like, oh, I'll clean hood vents. I'm pretty good at that. I know my way around a hood vent and know what's going on. I've seen it done many times. It's easy, right? Easy to get into. So I started, and little did I know there was a monopoly here, right? I leave my job, my stable job. People would think I'm crazy, but I did. My 401k, my insurance, all of that, left all of that, started this business, and I picked up one customer, right? And completely flopped. And I'm going, God, what is going on? Right. Well, lo and behold, long story short, I ended up driving a dump truck and excavators. And, so I'm finding myself, doing all this stuff I've never done before in my life. And, you know, being good at it. right? Not trying to pat myself on the back, but just being decent, at it. And now I've got time for ministry. Me and the family were able to go on these vacations. We're able to do these things and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, where has this been my entire life? And, and so, here we are, 4 years later, and, I'm not gone bankrupt yet. So that's a good thing. And so, yeah, that's kind of my story. That's kind of my entrepreneur story, right? And out of that, so since then, there has been, not only did I start what I call Gabor and backhoe services, right? So that's my excavating and dump trucking and stuff like that. But I also started Roman Studios, so I've also written a book, and we do a podcast, and we do coaching programs, and we do all these other things that have come out of my obedience to start a business outside of just running a dump truck, right? So ministry has been able to has turned into this growth thing, and God's been very faithful to us, and it's been awesome. It's been awesome.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And I want to dive into that, right? So walk us through that feeling, right? So you're hearing this voice, okay, listen, this is what you're called to do. I need you to step beyond where you are now, your comfort level, and jump into this thing that you've no idea. Like, like, what did you do? What was your first step? Did you Google? Did you pray? Like, what was your first step? Like, you've never done entrepreneurship, and
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, obviously, first thing, I did a lot of praying. I did a lot of praying, and in that, I just began to ask a lot of questions, right?
okay.
So friends that I do have that own businesses that I'm comfortable enough asking about, I would ask them, hey, well, what do you think about this? What do what do you think about that? Can't what are the risks involved? What are all those things? So I began to ask tons of questions. I began to do research. I began to what I know what I want to do, which is what the tug that I have on my heart, right? But I don't know how to get here, right? And unfortunately, God doesn't use flashing billboards, right? I wish He would, and but He doesn't, and so He wants us to step out on faith,
Hmm.
right? And so I'm like, God, okay, and I've always been the kind of person I jump in head first, and sometimes it gets me in trouble. Sometimes it's like what is it? Big risk, big reward, kind of thing, and. And so I did. I just jumped in head first, and so with that, with that, there has been I have learned so much over the last 4 years. Um, everything from the importance of saving money, the importance of not that we never saved money before, but when you own your own business, it's completely different. When you're paying your own taxes, and different things like that. Like it's a different ball game, right? So all these little things that anybody who's spent a lifetime in entrepreneurship, this comes second nature. I
Right.
had to learn in my 30s and 40s, late 30s and
Hmm.
early 40s, um, unknown to anybody, what I mean? And luckily, God has placed a lot of people in my life that has helped me, as I've gone along. I love, I shouldn't say I love, nobody really loves it, but I like constructional criticism, right?
Hmm.
Give me correction. If I'm doing something wrong, I want you to tell me I'm doing something wrong. If you see me, hey, you really need to, you're going to get yourself in trouble in this area legally, so you need to be doing this. Please tell me, right? And I
Hmm.
give everybody free reign to do that, and so with that, people have just poured into my life. They've just told hey, you really need to be thinking about doing this. You really need to tweak this in your area. Having people, you know, getting my CDL and getting my, all that stuff for my dump truck. Hey, you need to have this type of insurance. You need to have this, right?
Yeah.
I've given people permission to do that. You,
Yeah.
you know, I did not go into it thinking that I just knew everything.
But
And
you could.
yeah, and so trying to soak up all of that,
Hmm.
I think is important for anybody into the entrepreneurship of anything, right? Whatever that
Mhm.
field is, you should give people the license to come in and be like, hey, I need to correct you in this area, you know.
You know, and I want to give our listeners a little bit of context about who you are as a person. So you're a dad, you're a husband. And when we say dad, now you have how many
Six,
kids?
six
Six kids.
children.
Six
Yes.
children. So when you decided to go on this journey, it was not an easy, okay, well, this is what I'm called to do. I'm just going to jump and do it. Now you have a huge family depending on you.
Yes, and it was terrifying, right? You
Right.
know, because exactly that, and I have right now, my oldest is 20, my youngest is 4, and so when you have that kind of responsibility, knowing that as leader of my home, right, that I have to provide, you know, food for the table, I have to make sure that there's a roof over their head. There's so much more involved than just hey, I'm going to start a business. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's not like that. And so, but I think a lot of that is where prayer comes in. Allowing God to just open doors. And waiting. Sometimes thank God, He can take our failures and bring glory out of them, right? Bring
Mhm.
something good out of those, because they're anybody who's started a business knows you make a lot of mistakes.
Mhm.
And so with those mistakes, my kids have also been extremely gracious, in the times where, when you are putting in, 50, 60, 70 hours a week, trying to get your business off the ground, traveling and being away, and, making business, calls and all this stuff, they've been so gracious, and so, but no, it's not easy. It's not easy when you know, I have 7 other people, my wife and my 6 children, that are dependent on me to for leadership, right?
Mhm.
Not
Mhm.
not just putting food on the table um and a roof over their head, but they're also dependent on me on leadership, which is another reason why I think that it's so important for us to do that, right? They also seen their dad step out
Mhm.
and do something he's never done before. My second oldest just got married just a couple weeks ago, and him and his wife come over, and it's so weird to say that, right? It
Well,
is just,
congrats too,
yeah.
right?
Thank you. Yeah, she's such a wonderful human being,
Oh,
and so
that's
I'm
so
so
awesome.
excited for him. And but they had come over and they were eating dinner with us and stuff. And he's 18. They're both 18. They just got married, and so he's trying to take on this role as leadership. And I we were sitting there. We were kind of. I was telling him. I said, man, I said, one thing that I wish I would have known when I was your age is that I can, right?
Mhm.
Because at 18 years old, I had no idea what I was capable of, right? I
Right.
was working in a factory for the rest of my life, right? Just like my dad did, just like everybody that I know did, all that. And there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with that. There is, there's place for that, and that's fantastic. But that's, if God is calling you for something more,
Mhm.
you have to know that you are capable of something more, right?
Mhm.
And I had no idea. And I'm like, look, you have to know now, you can, whatever it is that you think that you want to do, you can do it, right?
Mhm.
Just it may be hard, it may be difficult. There's going to be challenges in the way. Just do it, right? And so that leadership, right? That leadership for me, they desperately need. And
Mhm.
so there's all of that aspect too, of, okay, yes, starting a business because God called me to do it, absolutely 100%. Trying to lead my family, all that stuff, but trying to teach them along the way,
Right.
hey, you guys, if dad is capable of more, you
Mhm.
are capable of more, right? And trying to pass that on to them, that they can make those, they don't have to wait till they're 39, 40 years old before they
Right.
start making these kind of decisions. They can make them young, right? if
Mhm.
i, if I would have known what I was capable of then, where will we be now? Now, don't get me wrong, God's been very gracious to us, right? Um, we've got 6 kids, and our house is always full, and our hearts are always full, and stuff, and God's been super good to us. But there could have been more, right?
Right.
If I would have understood,
Mm-hmm.
that I was capable of more. And so, that's something I would tell every entrepreneur, that that is looking, feels that call to entrepreneurship, that feels that tug for, even ministry, even, things like that. You are capable of so much more than you know that you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
It most of the time we don't do it because of fear, right?
Right.
Fear holds us back from everything. What if I can't pay my bills? What if I can't put food on the table? What if, and all those what ifs are
A
legit.
real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
are real, and they are terrifying. But God has made us capable to do more than what we even know.
Mm-hmm.
That would be that. If I was to give any advice to anybody, that's what I would.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And then jumping into to even getting your business and word of mouth out there. Like, how did you go from starting the second business where you're going to do the excavating and all of these things, right? How
Mhm.
did you get the news out? I mean, let everyone know. Was it like word of mouth? Did you learn marketing,
Yeah,
SEO?
yeah. Most, of course, I live in a small town, right?
Right.
So word of mouth is very easy,
Right.
right? And so, knowing people who are involved in other things that have opportunities, and that's just what it is. I just put myself out there. I'm not very good at marketing. That is my downside. And it's really hurt us on like the podcast side and stuff like that. That's we're trying to staff that weakness. Uh,
Right.
but as far as the dump trucking, the excavating stuff, it was all word of mouth. Business cards. I would go to just different companies and stuff. Hey, this is what we're doing. But word of mouth is definitely where we had went to, and so and now that doesn't help out with everything, right? But dump trucking, excavating, it's very hands on. People,
Right.
it's a very select market, anyways. Not everybody needs a load of rock. Not everybody needs asphalt. Right? So it's not like you're going to come pick up a bunch of repeat customers like you would if you were doing like some kind of sales, or something like that. Where you would desperately need marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit different of industry, and I'm learning that now with the other side of it, right? Because I went into it thinking that I could just do word of mouth like we did beforehand, and just kind of just
It'll
willy
just
nilly
go.
my way through it. That's not it. Especially with the book and with all that. How I have learned the importance of marketing over the last couple of years, and the importance of hey, the good old boy that applied to my other business doesn't apply to
Yep.
when you're doing something on a large scale. It's got to be marketed right, and
Right.
so yeah, that's and so when it comes to that first business, it was a little bit different than what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
With the Roman Studios, and so it is it's a learning curve for sure.
Yeah, and that's good because that's a good thing to know, right? So you're starting a business. Not every business is going to be marketed the same way. Not all challenges are going to be the same. You know,
That's right.
so every business that you start is going to be different, but that doesn't mean that it you won't get to the other side of it, right?
That's right. Yes. Yes. And and being willing to change, right? So, be I don't like change, right? Change, which is weird because I
Period.
have 6 kids, and I've started 2 different businesses. The last 4 years have been nothing but change, right?
Right.
And so with all that involved, when it come to beginning to wanting to market it different, right?
Hmm.
I didn't want to do that because it's so far out of my comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's I was already out of my comfort zone. I wrote this book, and I tell people all the time I'm a community college dropout from Southeast Missouri. Like, I don't even speak in complete sentences most of the time. Why? I would ever write a book. I have no idea, but God called me to write a book, and it's been somewhat successful. I mean, it was a bestseller and things. And I'm going, what is like this whirlwind of things that are happening, right? And I'm going, what in the world? So when it comes to starting marketing, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm already stretched, right? And my wife's like, you're just gonna have to start learning to go with it. You're
Yep.
just gonna have to start learning to roll with all these different things. If you're going to be, if this is what you're going to do, then you're gonna have to learn to change. And I'm like, man, I do
Yep.
not want to change, but she's right,
Hmm.
and that hurts too. But but yeah, I mean, and it has been, and so really anybody. I've never met anybody who has started a business that was like, oh yeah, it is exactly what I thought it was going to be. I've done
Hmm.
everything from that I thought I was going to do right at the beginning. I've never had to change anything, right?
Yeah. No.
Never
No.
talked to anybody who's done that.
No.
It's always, I had this plan, it completely fell apart, and I had to change everything, right?
Yep. Yep.
So,
I think that's just what entrepreneurship is, right? So not
yes.
everybody has that instant idea and it's successful. And even if you watch those stories, right?
Hmm.
It's they started something, it failed, and then everyone else is seeing the one that was successful. But then the 100 or 1,000 of different ideas that they had before, no one sees that. No one sees the hard work. No one sees any of those things that go in, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly right. I mean, I was reading, I can't remember what I was reading now, but they were talking about like successful billionaires.
Hmm.
Most of them have been bankrupt many of times,
Yeah.
right? From failed business attempts and stuff like that. Until they finally got the one that was successful for them, right? But they continue to try, they continue to push, they continue to that. Not everybody's called to entrepreneurship, but if you have that call to entrepreneurship, you
Hmm.
can't really get past it. You'll
Yeah.
never be happy in a
Yeah.
9 to 5 job, right? You'll never be you'll be miserable for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
And I do feel like that's 100% accurate. Like if you go into a 9 to 5 environment, you feel kind of trapped if you have that calling on your heart.
yes.
Like it's a totally different feeling, and another thing comes with that is the burden that also comes with entrepreneurship, because even though you call to it, I do feel like a huge burden comes with it, because
Oh, yes.
you are burdened to help people and be of service, and a lot you you're called for a lot, so there's a lot of pressure too.
Yes. Oh,
you
yeah,
know
100%. There is so much, there's so much risk involved, right? There's so much um the hardship, right? The tears, the blood, the sweat, all of it, the sleepless nights, the time away from your family, the 70, 80 hour weeks, all of
Mhm.
that, getting things up off the ground, and the worry of is this going to pan out? Is this going to be successful? Is this week, this meeting, this whatever it is, yeah, there's so much burden to this,
Mhm.
but the burden to help others, the burden to of entrepreneurship often outweighs, right, the burden of what if I'm not successful,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
It because it doesn't, the burden of what if does not answer the why, right? Because
Mhm.
when we all start a business, we're all answering that question, why, or what is my why
Mhm.
am I doing this, why do I feel this way, why am I called to do this, right?
Mhm.
What is this tug, right? Why am I having it? For me, it's always been ministry. My faith has always been a major factor in what I do, right? Even in my entrepreneurship, yes, I drive dump truck, yes, I do excavating, I do all that stuff. Ultimately, that that put me in a position to do ministry, right?
Mhm.
The once we got things going, when things slow down, when things, all that stuff, I don't just sit on my couch and watch TV. I do ministry. I do,
Mhm.
all these things, and so it's always been, you know, I need to spend more time with my family. I need to I need to do ministry, right? I have to. And so, okay, so what am I capable of doing that can provide services for somebody else that's going to help me do this? Well, I can drive anything, and that's
Mhm.
not just me patting me on the back. It's just something I can do, right? Not everybody can. I can drive
Mhm.
anything. I can drive dump truck, I can drive excavators, I can drive anything. And so, I'm like, I can do this, and this is going to give me liberty to do more when it comes to ministry. And now God has provided opportunities now with Roman Studios. We're doing conferences, we're doing all these different things,
That's so
and
fabulous.
it's phenomenal. And I'm going, why? Why? Now don't get me wrong. I'm super thankful that God chose me, right?
Mhm.
But at the same time, I feel like Gideon, right? If anybody's familiar with the Bible, I feel like Gideon off the time. God, I think you got the wrong dude, right? And there's a story. There's a story. I don't know if you've ever heard of a man by the name of Reinhard Bunke.
No.
So he was a missionary in Africa, won millions of people to the Lord, right? Millions and millions of people. In his biography, he talks about how when God called him, he basically, and I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, but he basically told God, he's like, you got the wrong dude, right? And God told him, and he was telling the story. He said when he said that, God told him, he said, you weren't my first choice, you were my third, right? And I that hit me so hard, right?
Wow.
Because I never want to be those first two people. You see the things that Reinhard Bunke did because of his obedience to the Lord, right? They say that he's got rooms full of acceptance cards, right? That they can't even count. There are literally millions of them, right? That he would have these revivals where millions of people would show up to these tent revivals and stuff that he was having there in Africa, and these other two people missed,
Wow.
right? I don't want to be that guy. I
Mhm.
never want to be the guy that misses out so bad on what the Lord had for me to do, right? Because I didn't think that I could,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so when all this chaos is going on, I have all these thoughts going on. Lord, why me? Like I don't even care, right?
Mhm.
I'm glad you chose me,
Mhm.
and whatever that it looks like, as crazy it may be, as uncomfortable as it is, because it really is. Tomorrow night I'm speaking at a men's group, and I'm kind of an introvert, right? So conversations like this is good for me, right? You're on the other side of the screen. I'm sitting here in my studio by myself, right? When it comes to contact with people, it's hard for me at times,
Right.
right? And so God has really been stretching me. I've started teaching, which we've been doing men's groups and stuff like that. But these conversations sometimes are really difficult on me, and so God is just stretching me, and I'm like, God, then stretch me, right?
Right.
Because I don't want to miss out on what you have for
For
me,
right.
right?
Right.
And I don't want other people to miss out because I said no, right?
Mhm.
What if somebody did not end up in heaven because I said no, right?
Whoa.
Like I can't deal with that, right? I can't
Mhm.
s- I can't sleep at night with that,
Mhm.
right? What if
Mhm.
some man did not fulfill his potential because I was afraid to fulfill mine? Like I can't do
Wow.
that. You know what I mean? And so
Wow.
why I do this is bigger than my fear.
Mm.
And I think that when you become an entrepreneurship, no matter what it is, and it doesn't always have to be faith driven, right? But whatever it is, your why has to be bigger than your fear.
Mhm.
Period.
Mhm. Your why definitely has to be bigger than your fear, and you definitely have to learn to do it scared, because no
Yes,
one who is on this journey or who is doing it isn't doing it scared.
that's
Everyone is
right.
everyone is scared, and they're still getting up every day, and they're still putting one foot in front of the other, you know?
Yes.
And when you were talking, I was thinking about, the story in the Bible about the talents, right?
Hmm. Yes.
and how one person buried their talents. And I feel like in our society, a lot of the times, a lot of us bury our talents, right?
Yes.
Because we are so afraid of the unknown.
Yes. There was a. I was listening to. Oh, what is his name? He's a pastor out of Las Vegas. Jabin Chavez. He's got a leadership podcast. Anybody who's listening to this should listen to him. He's phenomenal. But he was telling this story, or he had this guest on his that was telling the story, and he was talking about going skydiving. Right, his friends talked him into skydiving, and there was three of them. Of course, when you skydive, you have to tandem skydive, right? So you have an instructor strapped to you. He said the first group jumped out, the second group jumped out. He said, and so the instructor kind of started moving him towards the edge of the plane, and this guy's like, I'm getting ready to jump out of a perfectly good plane, right? He said that the instructor could tell that he was really kind of reluctant, right? And so as he, because he's trying to push him towards the door and the guy's kind of pushing back, and he said that the instructor leaned over, he said the most profound thing. He said, sometimes you just have to do it scared. And that's, and you just said that made me think of that story. And that's it.
Mhm.
There's there are a plethora of reasons to be terrified, right?
Right.
You could spend your entire life inside your house and be afraid of everything, COVID,
Very true.
sickness, and and
These
the
elections.
everything, right? You want to wrap your kids in bubble wrap, and you want to, all this stuff, just evil in the world, right? If anybody's ever seen, movies like, what was the one they did about the sex trafficking, and all that stuff. I mean, there are so many reasons to be afraid, right? But then at the same time, God has not called us for a spirit of fear, right? That's not of God.
Mhm.
Fear is not of God. He has called us to be successful for the kingdom of God, and that looks different for everybody, right?
Mhm.
For one person, that may mean mopping the floors of wherever you're at, right? And doing it without fear. He has just as much reason to be fearful as somebody who is a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar industry, right?
Mhm.
Everybody could not be doing what they want to do. This guy's starting a janitorial business and he's mopping floors, and this guy's running this he's a CEO. Everybody could not be doing whatever they're doing because of fear,
Mhm. Mhm.
but you just can't let it drive you. You can't, because
Mhm.
it's not of God.
Mhm. And I mean, even to that story, when you think about people like Bob Proctor, who had a cleaning company and scaled that cleaning company to how many millions, how many
Mhm.
different, I mean, that in itself speaks volumes.
Yes. Yes.
No education, no college degree, like, it's so crazy, the things that we're taught to do, you
That's
know,
right.
and what, I mean, I would say this. I would say that for anyone thinking about entrepreneurship, and they're called to be an entrepreneur, mentorship, looking around you for people that have done it, even looking at the simplest jobs that people have taken to make become multi-million dollar companies, and don't discount what it is that you're good at,
Hmm.
and I think that inhibits a lot of people too, because they think that they're not good at anything, you
Right.
know and
Yes.
and they're like, you call me for entrepreneurship, but I don't know what it is I'm good at, and I don't think I'm good at anything. But they're thinking too big. They think that it has to be a tech company, or it has to be they're not looking around at the everyday things that they use, apply, or do.
Yes. That's exactly right. I knew a guy. Um, I had met Josh Latimer, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, but the first company he ever sold was a window cleaning business, right?
Mhm.
And he turned it into, a six-figure business, just no college education, no nothing. He needed a way to make some money, started cleaning windows. Of course, the guy
Mhm.
now, he's like this marketing genius, right? And figured out how to do this, sold it, and now the guy's got several six figures, 7, 8 figure businesses,
Mhm.
and all because we're not talking about this college educated guy.
Right.
He knew what he was good at, just like you were saying, and
Mm-hmm.
he did it.
Mm-hmm.
Did it, and that's what we do. We just do
Just
it,
do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Listen, it almost sounds like a Nike ad. Just do it,
Yes,
but it's so true.
it
It
is
is.
true. It
It
is
is
true.
so true. I want you to talk about a little bit about the advice, the tips. I know you spoke a little bit into what you tell yourself about not being afraid, but if you had to go back in time and you're sitting down one on one and you were your own mentor, what are some of the things that you would tell yourself?
Mm. Yeah, which we have talked about a couple of them, but be confident in who I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, not allowing my pain, my internal wounds, whatever you want to call it, and everybody's got them,
Mm-hmm.
everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody gets out of life unwounded, right?
Nope.
Everybody deals with. I'm not special. I'm not different in that area, right? We're all wounded together, right? We
Mm-hmm.
live in a fallen world with fallen people. Everybody's wounded, but not allowing those wounds to hold me back, not
Right.
allowing that fear to keep me from moving forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I got a good friend of mine. He's actually speaking at the conference we've got coming up in January, and whenever I first met him, you know, it's crazy. It's crazy. But whenever I first met him, I'd tell him, I'm like, man, listen, I don't know why God has chosen me to do any of this stuff. I am a community college dropout from Southeast Missouri, right? And he would get on to me for saying that. He's like, dude, you got to stop. Like, you're going to have to start, thinking of yourself different. Stop putting yourself down. And so now it's changed from me putting myself down to a testimony, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that God can use a
Right.
community college dropout from Southeast Missouri, is a testament of who God is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that fear, that lack of self-confidence, that all of those things that have always held me back, not only in entrepreneurship, but how many positions have I passed up, even in y- you know um the businesses I was a part of, right? How many times have I not been successful in ministry because I've allowed fear, to just dictate my lack of self-confidence. How many times have I not told somebody about Jesus because of my own self-confidence, right? All of
Mm-hmm.
these things, I would love to go back and be like, listen, you can.
Right.
Whatever it is that is tugging at your heart right now, you can do. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the tug, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy, right? Doesn't mean that it's going to be you're going to be successful right off the bat. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have to work at it. Doesn't mean that you're not going to have sleepless nights. None of those things,
Right.
but you can do it, right? And not allowing those things, my self-confidence, my fear, those things kind of keep me bogged down, to just really just operate, not necessarily because I am somebody special, but because I'm a child of God first and foremost, right? So
Mm-hmm.
therefore that gives me my identity in
Right.
in capability of doing. I mean, look at the people Jesus, God used in the Bible. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
all of them were failures at some point. Every one
Mm-hmm.
of them. Why can't it be me? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't it be me? And so to go back, if I was to give myself any kind of advice, that's exactly what it would be. I would go back and tell my younger self, you have to be self-confident in who you are because God has made you the way that you are, right? And he is he specializes in taking broken people and doing great things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so that puts me in that category, right?
Absolutely.
And if not me, then who? You know,
Right.
if not me, then who? And
Mm-hmm.
so that's the advice that I would really give myself. And not just in entrepreneurship, but in life as a whole. In my
Right.
marriage, in my my wife and I, thank God, we've been married for 21 years, and coming up on 22, and
Yeah.
we've got six amazing children. We me and her, we've got 5, we adopted 1, we all of this stuff. But even then, the failures that I have had because of my lack of self-confidence in my parenting, in my marriage, thank God, God
Wow.
has been graceful in that.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't have to be there, right?
Right.
And so not only to apply that to entrepreneurship, but to apply that to my life
Your
as well.
life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. I love that. And for reference, I know we spoke about where you are in terms of what you're doing now, speaking on stages, your book. Can you tell us where we can find your book? The title of your book.
Yeah. So the book is Framework for Biblical Masculinity. You can find it on Amazon. You can find out everything that we're doing. We have, you can go to our realmenministries.us, or everything is linked on our conference website right now. So it's Real Men
Mhm,
Ministry, or I'm sorry, realmendiscipleshipconference.com. And
mhm.
there's a link to the book. There's a link to the other website. You can figure out of course, if you want to go to the conference, there's ticket, you can buy tickets and stuff like that on there also.
What
Uh,
are the dates?
it's January 4th. It's just a 1-day conference. They're in St.
Mhm.
Louis, Missouri, Sunset Hills. And, seats are limited, right? And
Will
so,
will
but
it also be broadcasted on Zoom?
it will not be, not
Okay.
this
So
time. So this is kind of a learning experience, and so it's all gonna be in-house. We'll see how, we plan on growing from here, right? So this
Mhm.
this will not be the last one we do. When this is kind of where God has, I was talking about the self-confidence stuff. When this is successful, and there will be many, many more. And
Mhm.
and so we will take them to different states. We'll take them to different cities, and hopefully they will grow to multiple days, and we'll be able to do the Zooms and and stuff like that. But this one will not be.
Yeah.
So
I definitely think men right now need this more than ever. So, thank you for doing everything that you're doing because,
thank you.
we are in a kind of fractured society. And I think more people are noticing that.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's what we do, right? Is try to help men understand their identity in the leaders that they're called to be by God, right? As
Mhm.
leaders of their homes, their communities, and of the churches, and trying to help them grow. That's the whole purpose of the book, is give them a foundation to build upon. This is because really, biblically, men don't even know what masculinity even looks like anymore, right?
Mhm.
And when you look at the results of feminism, and the transgenderism, and all these things that have attacked masculinity,
Mhm.
uh men are terrified to even speak up most of the time.
I was
Most
going
of
to
our
say.
churches are ran by women, right? And
Mhm.
thank God, right? And this is not a shot at women.
Right,
It's
right.
because men have not fulfilled the roles as men, right?
Mhm.
So trying to give them a foundation of who they are in their identity is, under Christ.
Mhm.
These men who want to be good leaders, they want to be good fathers, they want to be good husbands, they want to do all this stuff, and they don't know how, right?
Right. Right.
Okay, so let's get you there. So
Mhm.
we've got coaching programs, we have curriculum that we are currently writing for the book, for men's ministries inside of churches. 10% of churches in America have men's ministries. 110% of churches in America have women's ministries. And so
Wow.
trying to change that, right? Trying to come in and be like, okay, we have to change that. We have to get men involved. It's not about removing women, it's about getting men engaged
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
who they are, right? And so trying to offset that, the conference is all about discipleship, making disciples of men inside of your church. Discipling here, taking resources back to your local church, right? Because real discipleship happens inside the church. And so giving people who have a hunger, a calling for leadership, maybe they don't even know that they have that yet, but being able to go somewhere where they can get a hold of resources and be like, okay, I can take this back to my local church. I can do this, right? I have this passion, I have this hunger.
Mhm.
I can take these resources. I can do this, right? And so that's what it's all about. trying to get men engaged, trying to get men, to understand who they are in Christ, leaders and fathers and husbands and all of the above, right? School board members and city council members and congressmen
Mm-hmm.
and senators, right? We need them
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
and understanding who they are, and so that's really what Real Men Studios is all about. And we're excited. God is doing so much. It's hard to even keep up with sometimes. Meeting amazing people like yourself, right?
Well, thank
And,
you.
and stuff, and it's just it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I do feel that. I feel like when he calls you to do things, doors open that you never thought would open. And it's
Absolutely.
phenomenal. It's
Yes.
phenomenal. And I will definitely, for everyone listening, I will definitely link all of his links so you can find him. You can find out about his event. You can get his book. This is awesome. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for what's to
Much.
come. This is
Thank you so much.
phenomenal.
Yes, this has been such a great conversation. I appreciate it so much.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I mean, we need more people doing the things that they're supposed to do, that they're called to do in order for us to progress as a people.
That's
Love
right.
it.
Yes, absolutely.
Love
That's
it.
very well put. Yes.
Anthony, I want to tell you thank you so much for coming on today. We love it. I will definitely link everything. Thanks
Okay.
again.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into today's episode of Entrepreneurial Truth. One tool that I can truly recommend on how you can organize and execute systems is Notion. Notion allows you to seamlessly get information out of your head and into a centralized, organized space. Whether it's documenting processes, managing projects, or brainstorming ideas, Notion can be your go to platform. As a special offer to our listeners, you can get started with Notion using the link in the episode description. By using our affiliate link, you not only support our podcast, but also gain access to free templates designed to kickstart your journey with Notion. These templates are specifically crafted to help entrepreneurs streamline their workflows and boost productivity. To take advantage of this offer, simply visit the affiliate link below to sign up and explore the free templates available in the resource section. Whether you're a solopreneur, managing a team, Notion can be the game changer you've been looking for. Stay tuned for more episodes where we dive deep into strategies, tools that can empower you as an entrepreneur. And don't forget to subscribe to Entrepreneurial Truth so you never miss an episode filled with actionable advice and insights. Thank you once again for joining us today. Until next time, keep innovating and scaling your business with purpose. Thanks again.